An 11-year-old boy collapses in the middle of a triathlon. His prosthetic leg has failed him. Volunteers start moving toward him, but one U.S. Marine gets there first, and what he does next, no one watching would ever forget. Pensacola Beach, Florida, a warm, breezy morning. The Gulf of Mexico stretched out behind hundreds of kids lining up for the Sea Turtle Youth Triathlon. This wasn't some casual fun run. These kids, ages 7 to 15, were about to swim 150 yards in open water, bike 4 miles, and finish with a 1-mile run on the sand. It was real, it was tough, and for most of them, it was the hardest thing they'd ever done. Helping keep the course safe that morning was a group of young Marines from the nearby base at Corey Station. One of them was Private First Class Matthew Morgan, originally from San Diego. No combat gear, no drills, just a safety vest, running shoes, and a watchful eye. He had no idea his life was about to intersect with a kid who would teach him something about toughness that boot camp never could. About halfway into the final mile, Morgan noticed something wrong. One of the kids had stopped running. Not to catch his breath, not to tie a shoe. He had fallen hard. That boy was 11-year-old Ben Bolts. Ben had already crushed the swim. Powered through the bike ride, he was so close to the finish line he could probably hear the crowd. And then his prosthetic leg, the mechanical limb that let him run at all, came loose. Morgan sprinted over. He was the first one there. He had already regained his composure and was trying to fix his leg. Morgan said later, "No tears, no yelling. Just a kid sitting on the ground, jaw clenched, hands working to reattach the device that most people never even knew he wore." But here's what most people didn't know about Ben. At 6 years old, Ben was diagnosed with bone cancer in his right leg. Let that sit for a second. 6. Most of us at 6 were worried about cartoons and recess. Ben was fighting for his life. Doctors told his family the only way to save him was amputation. They removed his fibula and tibia and replaced them with a mechanical knee and a specialized running prosthetic. Most kids might have stopped there, survived cancer, beat the odds, taken it easy. Ben didn't get that memo. Once he recovered, he didn't just learn to walk again. He ran. Soccer, baseball, triathlons. This wasn't even his first race, it was his third. So when Morgan knelt beside him on that course and offered help, Ben looked up and said something that hit the Marine right in the chest. "No, I just want to finish the race." Morgan paused. He looked at this kid, sweaty, determined, refusing to quit, and he understood. This wasn't someone who needed rescuing. This was someone who needed a teammate, but the leg wouldn't hold. Ben tried to stand, took one step, went down again. The prosthetic was done, and the finish line was still hundreds of yards away. Morgan knelt beside him one more time. Quietly, he said something simple. "Then let's finish it together." Ben hesitated. You could see the conflict on his face. He wanted to do it alone. Every fiber in him wanted to prove he could. But sometimes strength means accepting the hand reaching toward you. Ben nodded. Morgan gently lifted him onto his back, stood up, and started running. And that's when the crowd saw it. The announcer's voice rang out over the loudspeakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, turn around and look at what's happening on the course." Every head turned. And what they saw silenced the crowd for a split second before the cheers erupted louder than they had all morning. Private Morgan, running with Ben on his back, stride after stride, and just behind them, a line of young Marines fell into formation, flanking them on either side, escorting them to the finish line like a unit moving through the field. Nobody told them to do that. Nobody gave an order. They just moved in the crowd. Ben's mother, Kim Bolts, had been scanning the course with growing worry. "It was only a mile. I knew he was tired. I kept thinking, where is he? Where is he?" she told CNN. And then she saw her son, on the back of a stranger in a safety vest, surrounded by Marines, the crowd on its feet. "I just lost it," she said. It was incredibly touching. The Marines were right there for him. If you're a parent, you know that feeling, that collision of fear, relief, and overwhelming pride that hits you so hard your knees almost buckle. That was Kim in that moment. For the Marines, this wasn't a performance. They weren't looking for cameras. Captain Frank Anderson, their commanding officer, put it simply. We're selfless as an institution. Putting others before ourselves is second nature. And Morgan? When reporters asked him about it, he deflected every bit of praise back to Ben. As far as I'm concerned, he finished that race. As long as he knows he could have finished it, and wanted to finish it, that's all that matters. He didn't call himself a hero. He didn't post about it. He just did what felt right and moved on. Captain Anderson added one more thing. It's great to see Marines don't leave anyone behind, exemplified in the youngest members of our institution. Private Morgan has a bright future ahead of him. After the race, Ben admitted something quietly to his parents. "I didn't want to be carried. I wanted to finish." And honestly, that might be the most powerful line in this entire story. because it tells you everything about who this kid is. Cancer couldn't stop him. Losing a leg couldn't stop him. The only thing that frustrated him that day was accepting help, but his mom knew better. "We just want him to get out there and participate in life," she said. And he is. She didn't need to say more. That said it all. And here's the thing. This wasn't a one-time moment. In 2013, during a 5K race in Michigan, Corporal Miles Kerr noticed a 9-year-old boy named Bowden Fuchs falling behind, separated from his group. Without hesitation, Kerr slowed his pace, matched the boy stride for stride, and ran beside him all the way to the finish. When people called him a hero online, Kerr shrugged it off. "As a Marine, we try to help as much as we can. I don't think I'm a hero. I was just trying to help. No speeches, no spotlight, just action. That's the pattern, and that's what makes it matter." In a world that rewards the loudest voice in the room, it's easy to miss the quiet ones. The ones who show up, kneel down, and say 4 simple words. "Let's finish it together." Private Morgan didn't carry Ben because he had to. He carried him because somewhere along the way, in boot camp, in training, or maybe long before he ever wore the uniform, he learned that the finish line means more when you help someone else cross it. And Ben? He didn't need saving. He needed someone to run beside him. Sometimes that's all any of us need. If this story hit you the way it hit me, do something with that feeling. Share this video. Look up organizations that support kids with prosthetics or pediatric cancer research, or just be the person who shows up when someone falls. Subscribe if you want more true stories like this. Stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things when it counts most.